Hello there, everyone. I'm Gaylen Morse, and welcome to Journey to Recovery. We appreciate you listening. Our podcast today is entitled Rebuilding Damaged Relationships in Recovery. Chemical dependency problems often come with hurt, betrayal, and heartache, and tear at the very fabric of a relationship. In today's episode, we'll discuss specific strategies to acknowledge mistakes, begin the reconciliation process, and rebuild a relationship with mutual respect and trust. Our host is Dr. Hal Baumchen, a licensed clinical psychologist and licensed alcohol and drug counselor. He's an author, speaker, and clinician with over 30 years of counseling experience. I'm here today with Tim Bode, Director of Operations at Northland Counseling Services, and with Dr. Hal Baumchen, our host at Journey to Recovery. Hello, gentlemen. Hey, you guys were right on time today, but I knew you would be.
Hey, hi, Gaylen. Nice of you to say that.
We're trustworthy.
We try to be trustworthy.
Yeah.
Pertaining to today's lesson, building trust and rebuilding trust, more importantly, becomes a very important concept after it has been damaged.
Right. I think when somebody has a substance use disorder, they end up doing a lot of things maybe that are sneaky or lying or hiding, working in the shadows, keeping things secret, working in the dark, and that can damage a relationship. So we're going to talk about that damage that does occur, and then we're going to talk about what can you do about that.
Of course, a sturdy foundation of that kind of trust is a necessary piece to relationships, isn't it?
Right. You can't have much of a relationship if you can't trust the other person. If you feel like, are you going to betray me again? Are you lying this time? That's going to erode the thing. You got to have a foundation that you can build on, and trust is going to be that foundation.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that I wanted to say, Tim, was Erik Erikson's stages of development. And one of the very first, I think there are 8 stages the psychologist came up with, and the first stage is trust versus mistrust. And in his developmental stages, that was the foundational piece, that how could a baby or a child begin human development if you didn't have some kind of basic foundation of trust in the relationship? You get dropped on your head a few times, you start saying, my caregivers are not trustworthy, and it damages relationships. This was Erik Erikson's theory, that it damages your ability to build on that because you started out with that rocky, cracked foundation.
Yeah, so that foundation of trust allows us to kind of figure out what's next, and also helps us predict someone else's actions or what's going to happen in the future.
Right.
Have you ever had someone in your life who wasn't trustworthy?
Well, I think we all have. Yeah, probably bought a car from that guy. I'm not sure. But like the regularity of the morning sunrise, we really want to get into a relationship where we can pretty much anticipate what's going to happen next from somebody. And that predictability brings us comfort and security.
Yeah. So, Dr. Hal, what happens when trust is shattered or broken?
Now, substance use and abuse can be a very shameful thing for people. And because many addicts are working in the shadows and keeping things secret and working in the dark, they are not always up front, as you can imagine, with what they're doing, where they're going, and who they're with. And again, that now, because you lied to me so many times and you just told me where you were, well, like, were you really there?
Mm-hmm. Lying, being secretive and deceptive, that all erodes the integrity and trustworthiness of the addict, right?
Right. Mistrust brings that anxiety for the other person. You know, so you lied to me and now I'm anxious and insecure about that.
Why would somebody damage a relationship and then lie about it?
Most people actually care about being honest. They understand what the truth is, and they kind of want that coming toward them, of course. But they also want approval. And I'm going to talk more about this, but when those two important concepts become in conflict with one another, and you're almost forced to choose one, many people will lie in order to try to retain approval. I don't want to bring up any political figures or anything, but when you do something and now I know I'm going to disappoint you and you're going to kick me out of the house and you're probably going to take the kids and take the dog and leave the cat and I'm going to be sunk here. And so I don't want that to happen. So the addict often lies about that in order to retain approval.
Can you give us a specific example of that type of behavior?
I can give you another example of the same kind of thing. Imagine that a teenager is smoking weed and his mom says, "Hey, throw your pants down. I'm going to do some laundry." While he doesn't do it, mom goes up and finds the weed in his pants pocket. That evening when he comes home from school, they had this argument about him smoking weed, but he doesn't want her disapproval. So he lies about it. It was only a one-time deal, or it's not actually mine, it was John's. And I was just carrying it for him, and all kinds of lies, because he's lying to his mother because he doesn't want her mad at him, and he doesn't want to experience the consequences of his behavior either.
Yeah, lying can ruin a relationship quickly, can't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, just one or two lies, like, can I really trust what that person says?
It seems to me that you can work really hard to build trust in a relationship, but then end up damaging it very quickly.
Right. You've got a cabinet behind you, Gaylen, and let's just say, or this desk that you have your computer on, takes 60 hours to make that desk, to build it, but only 60 minutes to burn it down into complete ashes. And trust is like that too, so it takes a long time to build it.
Not only burn it down in 60 minutes, you could damage it severely in just 60 seconds.
That's right. And maybe I could refinish it, maybe not. Again, trust is like that in a relationship. Just one lie. You could build a relationship pretty straightforward, pretty trustworthy, and then in one night, if you get my drift here, you could damage the relationship.
Right. Let's talk about some common lies, manipulations, and deceptions that are found in addiction. Dishonesty erodes trust, and we have a list of things we're going to go over that destroy someone's confidence and trust in a person.
There are a bunch of them, aren't there? I mean, the lying one comes up, but we'll talk about some other ones too.
A basic one, I'm sure, is lying about how much you've used, lying about how often you've used.
Right. So you can see that in the addict. Like, were you drinking? Oh, no, I wasn't drinking.
I just had one beer.
Right. I always hear two. It's always 2 beers. 2 beers. Yeah. Well, how about the weed you were smoking? Oh, there's that too. Yeah. So what I was using and how much I was using.
Probably lying about the problems that were created by the drug use and or alcohol abuse.
Right. So another ticket, or you got fired from a job, or your boss called you in, or your performance was down, or you've been skipping out on work. And so I want to deny or lie about those things too.
Another one I'm sure you see is lying or cheating to get what you want, or using guilt to manipulate others to get what you want.
Right. So we're talking about damaging a relationship. And so substance abuse certainly damages it, but people damage the relationship with those kinds of things, cheating and lying and manipulating to get what they want. So it's not just somebody with a substance use disorder, but everybody can fall for this.
The Bible talks about seeing the beam in the other guy, or the speck in the other guy's eye, and not seeing the beam in your own. Well, I think that really applies to, or refers to, judging yourself on your good intentions and then judging others on their actions.
Right. I asked you guys to do a little action today, and then I forgot mine, and you guys did yours, of course. So, but I intended to. So I judged myself on my intentions, and I judged you guys on your behavior. Yeah, that happens a lot, I think.
Another thing that happens is trying to get others to believe that you're not in any trouble with your drinking.
Right. Yes, I drank. Yes, I drank then. And yes, I drank too much. But it's not a problem.
Yeah. And so not only getting others to believe that you're not in any trouble, but deceiving yourself, too, to think that it's all okay, it's normal.
Yeah. Right. I actually see that quite a bit, Tim. You wouldn't really think that people could deceive themselves in that way, but that addiction is filled with that. I don't have a problem, and I don't need help, and I certainly don't need to do anything with it now.
Going a little deeper, someone has maybe stolen from family members or friends. And of course, as we mentioned, you can have really good intentions. you got to deliver on them.
Yeah.
And similar to stealing, maybe you borrow something, you intend to return it, but you never give it back, right?
I had a man who was separated from his wife. He was a client of mine, and I was separated from his wife, and he needed money for drugs, so he broke into her house. It was his house at one time, but she had changed the locks. Broke into her house, went into the garage, stole the snowblower and hocked it, maybe intending to someday be able to pay it back, but he stole it from her. And you get into more trouble, and they're already separated. How's that going to go back together when he continues to live dishonestly like that?
Yeah, so that's quite a list of damaging actions that we've just gone through, isn't it?
And these actions quickly damage a relationship, and then it can be difficult or even a long process to restore it or rebuild that relationship, like we were talking about with the desk, 60 minutes to burn it down. So then I can rebuild it in 60 minutes, right? No, it's going to take, the full 60 hours. And in fact, this is a painful part, where you can damage the relationship so bad it cannot be reconciled. That person will not deal with you again. That's gone. So in order to restore something, there's some reasons that people don't restore or have trouble restoring. We're going to talk through a little list.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Well, how about you've committed to something, and that's all often part of a rebuilding process, but then you don't deliver.
Right.
And then lie about the reason why you didn't deliver.
Give me one more chance. I promise I won't fall. I won't falter. I will deliver. And then you don't.
Or you lie to retain approval or not lose a relationship.
Yeah, I know that you're going to leave me if I tell the truth, so I'm not going to tell the truth. And maybe you've rejected help from others, saying, I don't need help, or I don't know what you're talking about, and you don't understand my problem anyway, and how are you going to help me? And so even when help comes, we reject that. We don't want to disclose the trouble that we're in.
You don't honestly acknowledge the pain you're in, and you don't honestly acknowledge the pain that you've caused.
Again, we talked earlier about self-deception. I think this is one of them, where you are damaging things right and left. You're mistreating your spouse, you're mistreating your family members, even your own children, but then lying about it and minimizing that.
Being dishonest about how addicted you actually are.
That is the beginning. Right before somebody gets help, they seem to be fighting like, I don't use that much. It's not that bad. I can stop anytime I want. Like Mark Twain said, in regard to his smoking, quitting is easy. I've done it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And I think the drug addict and the alcoholic might say the same kind of thing. I can quit when I want to. I just don't want to yet.
Another thing that gets in the way is dishonestly blaming others for the trouble that you have caused.
Yeah. I only drink because you're ugly. And or the trouble that I've caused was, the cop or my boss or the culture around me or my peers. Not my fault. And maybe people lie about where they're going, who they're going to be with, and all that can really damage trust as well.
Mm-hmm.
Lied about missing work.
Yeah, or why you missed it, sure.
Distorted the truth or lied about blackouts.
Right. I had a real estate deal, and I got into town. I called I think I texted the real estate agent that I had arrived in town at 10 o'clock. At a little after midnight, I got a text back like, oh, great, well, I'll see you in the morning. And then when I met her in the morning, it was about 8 o'clock in the morning, I said, thank you for your text. And she said, what text? And I said, oh, you texted me last night, so thank you for that. She's like, what did I say? Was it okay? So I really think she was in, it was a Friday night. I think and I met her on Saturday morning. I think she was in a blackout. She did not know. And then she was a fine real estate agent.
Yeah.
Just blackout drunk the night before.
Yeah. Another thing that happens is when people are caught, then they deny the truth.
Right. I think she was struggling with the truth.
Yes.
Maybe could have acknowledged it a little bit, but she was trying real hard not to.
Or inventing new lies To cover up past lies?
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure you're familiar with that concept, and you watch people do that. So they get caught in a lie. Teenagers are gifted at this. They seem like, they'll have several lies in a row, and then they get caught at one and try to re-explain it with another lie.
You guys, why do you think being honest or acknowledging your dishonesty is so difficult?
I don't know. The big thing for me is that losing the relationship, that losing the approval in the relationship. That just stands out. I don't want to face the consequences that might be in there, and I don't want to lose your approval.
And we're talking about trust, right? So others not trusting you if they know that you've lied.
Right.
Yeah.
I think shame's a big part of it. You're ashamed of what you've done.
Yeah, I don't want to face it.
Yeah.
I hate myself, and I'm beating myself up about it, and I don't need you to jump on that.
You'd get into even more trouble if you told the truth.
Right. Like lose my job, lose my relationship, and you take the dog. Yeah, for sure.
We often use the word trust as though it's either completely evident and fully applied, or completely absent. But trust is not an all or nothing concept, right?
I trust you, or I can't trust you. But it's more on a continuum, Tim. I think where you mostly trust me most of the time to follow through on some of the things that I said, and we have a working relationship, but I might be a few minutes late for a meeting or something, but you kind of mostly trust that according to my track record. Trust is track record, and but we use it like I can't trust you with anything, but that's not true.
You can trust, I think, the majority of the people some of the time.
Yeah.
You may trust them in some situations more than in other areas.
Right. So you don't give me your checkbook, but you trust me to be kind and patient, that kind of thing. So
I'll give you my checkbook.
well, thanks, Gaylen. I'll catch you later on.
So why bother rebuilding trust when it's been broken?
I think relationships get damaged regularly, Tim. You hurt me, I hurt you, Gaylen hurts you, I hurt Gaylen. And how are we going to get along if we can't reconcile, restore that, if we can't learn to apologize and forgive one another and rebuild that relationship? You don't want to throw away every relationship when somebody hurts you, because they hurt you. It's like hockey, they're going to bump into you. Like, don't quit the game because somebody bumped into you. Don't throw the relationship away because somebody hurt you. We want to rebuild that.
Dissolving the relationship obviously will cause some considerable emotional hardship and distress.
So now I'm going to pitch the relationship, and that's supposed to help? No, I think that's going to cause a lot of emotional pain. And then you do that again and again. That's your pattern. You burn, or somebody hurts you, and then you burn the relationship down and leave it. Yeah, that's going to create more long-term pain, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, Dr. Hall, what about trusting unsafe people?
Well, people can make mistakes in two directions. I think that's worth talking about. Some people, when they're making these two mistakes in two directions, I don't trust people that I should. Like the doctor, the psychiatrist, the judge, the police officer. I don't trust people in authority that I should. And I end up trusting people I never should have gotten involved with. I trust the drug dealer, the other gang members, the guys in jail. I trust them, and I don't trust authority. So trust in it kind of gone wrong in two directions. I don't trust people I should, and I end up trusting people I shouldn't have gotten involved in.
So are you saying that the people that you shouldn't trust are never trustworthy?
No, not exactly. I think trust is track record, so I want to trust them if they've changed their track record. If the person in authority is never trustworthy, well, I'd say, be careful there. But if the person in authority is in fact trustworthy most of the time, then I'd like you to, kind of work that out.
Yeah, and would you say it's true that some people end up almost always being suspicious or of people in authority, and also on the flip side end up getting frequently involved with people that are actually untrustworthy?
Exactly. Yeah. Just like we were talking about, like I should trust this group of people, but I don't, and I shouldn't trust these folks, and I do.
Yeah. So what is it that makes people safe?
Well, there are a couple of things, and I think maybe we're running out of time here. So why don't we try to talk about that on our next podcast? Gaylen, why don't you take us out here?
Well, thanks for listening to today's podcast entitled Rebuilding Trust. You can download other materials that help you develop skills to identify emotional problems, reduce symptoms, and prevent relapse at journeytorecovery.com. We've been visiting with Dr. Hal Baumchen, a licensed clinical psychologist and licensed alcohol and drug counselor. His expertise and clinical wisdom is now available at journeytorecovery.com. I'm Gaylen Morse. Thanks for listening to today's program. See you next time on Journey to Recovery. Remember, recovery is a journey. Enjoy the ride.